If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, don't try and fix it with duct tape. Think how bad that's gonna be. Just got a vase on your mantelpiece that looks like it's hanging on for dear life. This is a very simple rule, but for some reason people love to break it, especially movie studios. In what I can only imagine is a state of fear, they watch an almost finished cut of a film and then freak out it's not good enough. The answer? To shoehorn in extra scenes to try and make it work. Sometimes that can be the solution, but sometimes it's bad. I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is 10 movies where the reshoots were painfully obvious. Number 10. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Forget that Paul Rudd is hilariously miscast in this movie. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Paul Rudd. The biggest problem with The Curse of Michael Myers is how it was chopped and changed into something almost unrecognizable. Deciding that the origin story for the serial killer may make for good fodder, producers weren't happy with the original cut because it was too slow and needed more gore. On top of that, they took out almost every scene with Donald Pleasence, a regular in the franchise, because they were too boring. A rough decision, sure, but made even worse when you learn he died shortly after filming. Heartless bastards. The result of all of this? A whole new finale was shot with a stand-in for Pleasence and a lot of exploding heads and blood that made absolutely no sense. It all just comes out of nowhere. Because they didn't have the original actor either, the film just ends abruptly with the sound of screaming. It's an absolute mess. Number 9, The Invasion. Apparently the worst thing you can do if you're making a movie is for it to feel slow. That's the buzzword that sends everyone into overdrive, and it did so again here with The Invasion. What was originally meant to be a plodding psychological thriller that would carry a sense of dread was transformed into a weird action movie complete with massive car chases towards the film's climax. This was all executed thanks to the Wachowski siblings, by the way. The end result is just so weird, because you get part slow thriller and part over-the-top zombie movie. And you can tell when a new scene has just been thrown into the mix. It's all very distracting. Number 8, Jaws the Revenge. Jaws the Revenge was a bad movie. These are the facts. And much like you can't, well, you know, polish a turd, you can't make an awful film better just by adding a new coat of paint to it. The crap underneath is eventually going to start showing through again. Universal probably realised this, and while they did try and save it with a bunch of edits, the real focus was on the ending. While the original saw the evil shark eat a friendly Jamaican scientist before getting impaled by leading lady Ellen Brody, the brains in charge switched this all around. The shark in the final movie just explodes for no reason, but that's something we can all get behind, and our Caribbean friend survives, even though he's had half his body eaten. You'd have to be off your nut not to realise something has changed, because nothing fits together like it should. Embarrassing. Number 7, I Am Legend. I really wanted to be in the meeting where it was decided a scene in I Am Legend would just be Will Smith running without his top on for ages. That's what we all want to see when we go watch a zombie movie. That wasn't what spooked Warner Brothers though. Only 2 months before the film was due to be released, no one liked the ending, so they demanded it was changed. At first, the twist was going to come in the form of what the zombies' motives actually were. Storming Smith's house as if they want to kill him, it turns out they just want to rescue a member of their group. Cause, you know, Big Willie had been going around kidnapping them to run experiments. Nice. In this moment though, he would realise that to them, he was the monster, and they'd probably have embraced or something. But that sucked apparently. So it was decided Will would just blow himself up to save some people. The lesson we're learning here is that if all goes wrong, just explode some shit. Number 6, Superman 2. I mean, have you seen Superman 2? It makes so little sense no matter how many times you watch it that you actually have to be lying if you say you understand what's going on. It's ludicrous. The problem started when both Superman movies, that being 1 and 2, were shot back to back by director Richard Donner. Constantly at odds with his producers, they decided to switch focus to the first movie to ensure that was a hit, despite a large portion of the sequel already being captured. When Superman became a massive success, however, these same producers realized they could get rid of Donner. That's exactly what they did, bringing in Richard Lester instead. A ton of the film was just thrown out the window and reshot, the idea being that they would try and inject some light comedy into the mix. The problem though, is that you've now got a movie that's fighting with itself and its predecessor. The tone is all over the place. On top of that, Gene Hackman refused to return after Donner was given the axe, so all his scenes are the original shot by, you guessed it, Donner. It is a joke. Number 5, Payback. The plot of Payback is basically that Mel Gibson is a criminal who wants his stolen money back. Now, even when I say that out loud, it's fair to say you're not going to warm to this guy. He's clearly wrapped up in some bad stuff. The original version of the movie, however, is something else entirely, and Gibson comes across like an asshole to end all assholes. That didn't sit well with Warner Brothers, who wanted to make sure people liked the character. That wasn't the point. So with a new director on board and a brand new third act that I guess emerged from nowhere, a love story came to the forefront, the ending was more akin to what you'd expect from a Hollywood blockbuster, and Gibson was shifted to come across more like a comical prankster. Unsurprisingly, a director's cut that reverted back to what the premise was at first was much more well received. Number 4. X-Men Origins Wolverine. When your director and head of studio are arguing constantly, that's a bad sign, and probably means the movie is in for a rough ride. Who wants to guess what happened on the set of X-Men Origins Wolverine? This wasn't just a spat here and there either. It got so bad that Gavin Hood, the man in charge, once arrived on set and found it had been painted a different colour to the one he'd approved. His choice, apparently, was too depressing. There's also rumours that our man Richard Donner ghost-directed a lot of Origins, and that would make sense given how uneven the final version is. All the scenes are hobbled together, and there's about 42 different things going on at once. It's simultaneously a comic book movie, a revenge thriller, a reboot, a wacky comedy, and a romantic drama. One person didn't decide to make all those decisions. It completely ruined what was here. Number 3. World War Z. The weird thing with World War Z is that I quite enjoyed it, even though it's clearly a mess. The short story behind it is that Brad Pitt hired a director who didn't have the experience to handle a big budget blockbuster, so then had to go out of his way to try and fix it. And that meant going through the whole movie and seeing what they could change. The decision was ultimately to shoot a whole new third act. Now that's hard enough, but it also meant replacing what they already did have, which had cost an absolute fortune. You can tell too, because up to this point the money is everywhere and each set piece tries to outdo the last. Then all of a sudden Pitt is in a Welsh medical centre. It's not terrible though, and actually helps the pace of the film, but you can tell this was not what was intended. Number 2. Fantastic Four. These are the facts of life. We're all born, we all pay taxes, we all die, and Fantastic Four movies will always be absolutely dreadful. While everything looked to be in order for this reboot, director Josh Trank clashed with everybody, and that includes the cast, the crew, and 20th Century Fox. He was on a mission to wind everyone up and was taking no prisoners. This is evidently clear when you watch the movie. Almost instantly you can tell something is wrong. The first hour is almost nondescript, then everything goes crazy with CGI for no reason. It's like 2 different movies were patched together. It also cut scenes that were in the trailer, such as the Thing dropping a plane onto a military base. And that sounds cool, so don't get rid of that. The film tanked, and now we just have to hope Marvel swoops in and do what they do best. Number 1. Exorcist: The Beginning. We finish like we began. Don't make a slow movie in Hollywood. People don't like it, they get mad, so just make sure things go boom. But yes, after director Paul Schrader had put together a methodical and psychological thriller, management freaked out again because there were no jump scares and no gore. They got their knickers in so much of a twist, in fact, that they just scrapped everything and started again. Which is madness. Getting director Rennie Harlin on board, he went to town with all this nonsense and the film came out and got panned. With that said, the original version was actually released on DVD to try and recoup some of the money that had been lost. And everyone hated that too. Know of any other movies that were ruined by extra scenes? Let us know in the comments below, and then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can then come follow me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. I'm Simon from What Culture, and I'll chat to you again soon.